Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scott's Selections here for Friday, May 24th. Before we get into the MLB card today, we'll quickly recap what happened yesterday. We had no play of the day, which is unfortunate for me in particular, as every single lean that we had on the Bucks and Raptors game won. We recommended the Bucks in the first quarter minus 2.5. That one, we recommended Toronto on the full game plus 7.5. That one, and we also recommended the under in that game, as that also won. So we went 3-0 on the leans in that one individual game, but we did not give that out as a play of the day. But hopefully you were able to cash that anyway. But in terms of today's card, it's another one of those days where there is only baseball and nothing else. Baseball is currently, you have a day off because of the fact that the Warriors already swept. And hockey, there's nothing to talk about because the Stanley Cup finals have already been determined. So with that being said, how's it going, Paul? How's it going, Terry? Thanks for joining us. With that being said, we'll quickly dive into the MLB leans for today. In terms of play of the day, I didn't really see any matchup in particular that I saw a ton of value on, or the ones I did feel value on, I didn't feel confident enough giving that out as a play of the day. But I do see some plays here where there are a lot of value if you want to take a slight gamble. But we will dive right in with the Dodgers versus the Pirates. And in this game, Actually, according to this, I don't think the lines are correct on that, so I'm actually going to skip that one. I don't know if there's an error on that. But we're actually going to start out with the Marlins versus the Nationals. And this game was very close to being play of the day, as you have Lopez versus McCown. And in this game, believe it or not, the Marlins, I believe, have the value here. And one thing to keep in mind, the Marlins are terrible, but they have won 6 straight, very underratedly, and they ended up winning yesterday on a go-ahead grand slam in the 9th inning against the Detroit Tigers to complete the sweep. So the Marlins have won 6 straight. The Nationals just got swept by the Mets, including a series of blown leads late with that bullpen having the highest ERA in all of baseball. The Nationals stink. I still don't know how Martinez is the manager. He got ejected yesterday. He should have been thrown out of the damn franchise because he's just useless. But either or, you have Lopez versus McCown. McCown, if you've never heard of him, that's for good reason, as he is average at best. Where Lopez has not had a great season overall, as he's currently 3-5 with an above 5 ERA. But he was fantastic against the Mets in his last start, so he's looking to build off that with some confidence. In terms of that game, I have to lean to the Marlins there, as I think that the Marlins are roughly plus 125, plus 128, give or take, have too much value on a 6-game winning streak. And the Nationals, McCown's not great, and their bullpen's the worst in baseball statistically. So for me, I'd have to lean to the Marlins there. That would have been play of the day, but that involves me backing the Marlins, and that is just a bold proposition to say the least anytime you do that. But it has been profitable over the last 6 games, so hopefully they'll be able to make it 7. Moving on, you have a matchup between the Padres and the Blue Jays with Thornton versus Lucchesi. And Lucchesi's been pretty solid this year as a lefty. Pirates have a pretty underrated team. I know Tatis is still on the IL, but so far they've looked pretty good, and they have not officially been eliminated, from that division contention. Will they win the division? No, but they have looked pretty good this season. Behind Machado, behind Hosmer, some of the key players there. They are 26-24, so they're still above 500. But overall, in that one, the Blue Jays are still bad. Thornton, though, he's 1-4 with a 4.41 ERA. He's not a good pitcher, but every time I bet against him, he pitches an absolute gem, and I'm not going to touch that game for a reason. So with that being said, I'll personally lean to the Padres, and I think Lucchesi will pitch well here, as the Blue Jays have not been good against left-handed pitching this season. And the Blue Jays with Thornton, he's been great the 2 starts I bet against him, but as a whole, he's just not that great of a pitcher. So for me, I'll lean to the Padres there on the road. Moving on, you have the Tigers and the Mets. Mets are trying to get back to 500 after sweeping the Nationals, and you had a very rare Carlos Gomez sighting yesterday, who had a go-ahead 3-run homer in the 8th inning for his first home run with the Mets since 2007. So a nice reunion there for the 2 of them. But you have Syndergaard versus Soto. Syndergaard 3-4 with a 4.5 ERA. Still has great stuff. Gregory Soto 0-2 with a 10.8 ERA. He stinks. I mean, the Mets are minus 270, so in terms of value, there isn't really anything there. I would lean to the over 7.5, though. I think there is value on that one. The Mets lineup has been pretty solid. I would not be surprised to see the Mets score at least 5 runs. And even if Syndergaard goes 6 strong, the Mets bullpen has still been below average. And I would not be surprised to see the Tigers score some potential runs. with Castellanos and Cabrera and co. So I think that game will go over the 7.5 with those bullpens, and I would lean there. Moving on, you have the Rays and the Indians with Snell versus Bieber. I actually wrote an article about this game for StatSalt.com. I personally like the under 7.5 in that one with Snell and Bieber. Bieber coming off a fantastic, I believe it was a 16-inning strike performance. Could have been 14 strikeouts. I'm actually checking that right now. It was 15 strikeouts, so meet in the middle right there. So he was fantastic in his last start. Snell is still the defending AL Cy Young winner. Has he been great this season? No, he's 3-4. He does have a 3.31 ERA, but he had some arm issues earlier in the year, and he has looked decent lately. And the Indians' offense has been inconsistent with Jose Ramirez, had 39 home runs last year and an all-star, borderline MVP candidate. He's batting 198 right now with 4 home runs, and we're at the end of May. So you got to start wondering when he will be able to pick it up or if he will be able to pick it up. But with that being said, the Rays did win Game 1. The Rays lineup has still been above. They've been pleasantly surprising, but they're still not full of any superstars by any means. And I would not be surprised to see Snell and Bieber get involved in some type of pitcher's duel. So I personally would lean to the under 7.5. This game has 4-3, 4-2 written all over it, so I would take the under there. Moving on, you have a rematch of the Astros and the Red Sox and Chris Sale and Wade Miley as these two faced each other roughly last week. And Sale ended up the Red Sox ended up winning Sale's start against the Astros in the last meeting. Miley did pitch well, though. Sale's 1-5 with a 4.31 ERA, but he has looked better over the last month or so. And Wade Miley doesn't have dynamic stuff, but he's been finding a way as he does have a 4-2 record on the season. In terms of this game itself, I know that the Astros have lost 2 straight after losing to the White Sox in back-to-back games, but the Red Sox are currently a -137 favorite, and I'm not backing them in Houston. Houston, I still think, is the best team in the American League, and at +127, I think that's a gift. And the Red Sox bullpen hasn't been great either by any means. So for me, I would lean to the Astros at +125. Of course, you run the issue of going against Sale, and Sale could have another great performance, but this is one of the only times of the year where you'll be able to grab Houston as a home underdog. So I'd recommend taking it just for value purposes. Moving on, you have the Phillies versus the Brewers with Eichhoff versus Chase Anderson. And money's poured in on the Brewers. They open up at -115 up to roughly -130. And the Phillies are currently now a +120 underdog. Phillies had a very interesting series against the Cubs. They did win yesterday as they destroyed Lester. The bullpen almost choked it again, but they did win 9-7. Where the Brewers have been struggling a little bit lately, but Yelich has been out of the lineup for the last couple of games. So you have to wonder if he will be back. But Anderson, overall, I'm not a big fan of. Eichhoff's been decent this year. But in terms of who I'm going to side with, I have to side with the Brewers here. The Phillies bullpen is just too unpredictable. And for that reason, I think there is value on the Brewers here at home. Yeah, Terry, I'll get into some French Open stuff and qualifying in a second. But I'm going to finish up with the MLB card first. Moving on, you have the White Sox and the Twins. Twins are currently at roughly a -190. And the White Sox are roughly a +175 underdog there. In terms of the game itself, I'd have to lean to the Twins and the over. Berrios is a great pitcher. Lopez is not. The Twins scored 15-plus runs yesterday against the Angels, and this team is rolling from the plate, and I am not stepping in front of that lineup. Berrios is a very solid pitcher, but the White Sox have also looked pretty good on offense in the last couple of games against the Astros, and for that reason, I think this game will get over the 9, so I would lean to the over there, and the Twins bullpen's nothing to write home about either. Moving on, you have the Cardinals versus the Braves with Foltynewicz versus Mikolas, and the Cardinals are currently roughly a -160 favorite, and the total is at 10. It's been bet up from 9 to 10. In terms of this game, I'd have to lean to the over, as both pitchers have not looked great. They don't look like themselves from previous seasons so far in the 2019 campaign, but overall, I would lean to the Braves here. Won a tough extra innings game against the Giants yesterday, but ever since they inserted Riley into the lineup, this team looks different. If you don't know who Riley is, he's hit 5 home runs in his first 10 career games in the MLB. Definitely a huge power hitter. You put him together with Freeman and Acuna and Albies and Donaldson. I might have said Donaldson twice, but either or. This lineup is stacked, and the Cardinals have an okay team. They're projected to potentially contend for the NL Central. They're borderline 500 right now. So I do not think the Cardinals should be a -160 favorite. I would lean to the Braves at roughly +150 on the money line. if Fulton Avitz can get his stuff together for one start. Moving on, you have the Yankees versus the Royals. The Yankees have been bet down from -162 to -145, and the total has stayed steadily at 10. You have Chad Green versus Jacob Junis. Green's terrible. He's been awful all year, but he's going to be an opener, so he's only going to pitch one inning. Did give up no runs in his last appearance, but overall, I would lean to the Yankees. Royals stink. The Yankees lineup has been cooking. I know that their numbers are inflated because they were playing the Orioles, and I know that that's a factor. But the Royals also have one of the worst pitching staffs in baseball. Junis is not great by any means, and the Royals bullpen's bottom 5 in the league. So I would not be surprised to see the Yankees come out swinging, and I would not be surprised to see the Yankees go deep a couple of times. Junis is 3-5 with a 5.69 ERA. Now, do I think that the Royals have a shot at winning this game? Yes, but in terms of the money line here, the Yankees should be a bigger favorite than -145. The Yankees open up -162. They should be roughly -155 in my opinion. So I think in the 140s doesn't make much sense for a team like the Royals to be that low of an underdog against the Yankees, who have been absolutely rolling over the last couple of weeks. So for that reason, I will lean to the Yankees there. Moving on, you have the Orioles and the Rockies with Hoffman versus Means. Total's been bet up from 11.5 to 12. I have to lean to the over there. There's no way I'm back on the Orioles. Money's come in on the Orioles because Means has been decent this year. Hoffman has not been great. Colorado's currently a -160 favorite. Colorado should win, but they've been underachieving this season as well. But 12 there. Orioles bullpen's awful. And Givens also threw a ton of pitches yesterday, so their best reliever, quote-unquote, even though he blew the game yesterday, is unavailable. Orioles bullpen stinks. They've given up a record-setting amount of home runs so far at this point of the season. And you're in Coors Field, which is the king of the long ball area due to the altitude. So I would not be surprised to see Arenado go deep, potentially Blackman go deep. I think the Rockies will score 7 runs by themselves. So I'll personally lean to the over there at 12. Moving on, you have the Rangers and the Angels. Angels open up at -175, down to -160. Total stayed steadily at 9 with Smiley and Canning. I like the spot here for the Rangers because they've won a couple in a row, and the Angels just got absolutely demolished by the Twins and had to use up their bullpen since Matt Harvey went less than 3 innings yesterday. However, I don't like Drew Smiley, who's 0-3 this season with an ERA above 5. But at the same point, above 6 actually. But at the same point, I would have to lean to the Rangers here. I don't think the Angels should be that big of a favorite, or roughly -160. I don't think that really makes much sense, and I can understand why the money's coming on Texas. Texas has looked pretty good over the last week. I would lean to the Rangers getting the job done there, but that's assuming Smiley can actually pitch well. So I'll lean to the over, and I'll lean to the Rangers there because I think there is value on both sides. Moving on, you have the Mariners versus the A's with Mangden versus LeBlanc. Total's been bet up from 9 to 9.5, and the A's are currently roughly a -155 favorite. In terms of that game, I lean to the A's, and I lean to the over 9.5. LeBlanc is a very contact-based pitcher. Mangden has nothing to write home about, and the Mariners are currently second in all of baseball in home runs, and they've been a very solid over team this season. I have not had great success betting on A's totals at home this season, but in terms of these two starters and in terms of what the lineups bring to the table, I would lean to the over there. But Chris Davis did re-aggravate his hip, and he might not play in this game today, so keep in mind the lineups. And I personally use RotoWire for my lineup needs, but keep in mind that daily starting lineups are very important when it comes to betting on totals and just money lines in general. But I would lean to the A's at home, and I would lean to the over there. And the final game, you have the Diamondbacks versus the Giants with Robbie Ray versus Drew Pomeranz. Money's coming on the Giants, and the Diamondbacks open up -140 down to -128, and the Giants, and the total is at 7. At first glance, you might be wondering, why is money coming on the Giants? Pomeranz is terrible, and Robbie Ray has been very good this season. And the reason for that is the fact that Pomeranz has great numbers historically against the Diamondbacks, and the on-base percentage that he allows to current Diamondback hitters is absolutely phenomenal. And if I pull it up right now, his on-base percentage is sub 300, and that's out of 64 at-bats. So that's a ton of at-bats. They just can't hit him. So in terms of this game, I would lean to the under, and I would lean to – I'm still leaning to the Diamondbacks, though, because the Giants, their bullpen's going to be tired after having an extra innings game yesterday and losing in 13. Plus, the Giants stink, and the Diamondbacks have still been competitive this season. So I would lean to the Diamondbacks there, -125. I would simply lay off the first 5, as I think Pomeranz will pitch well. Look to the first 5 under in that game as well. Quickly, just looking at the comment section here, In terms of guap, I can understand why you want the Mariners there. I mean, do I think the A's should be that big of a favorite with Mangin on the mound? No. I don't really like LeBlanc either. My favorite play on that game is the over. But I think if you want to go with the Mariners, you can on the because of the fact that Mangin's not a great pitcher. But I don't like LeBlanc either. So I think that's a toss-up. I can understand that. Yeah, Peter, sorry about the Fritz lean there. I thought that match would go over the total. It did not, as Pair ended up demolishing him in Lyon in his home country. But Felix did win, so good for him winning in 3 sets. But as for the tennis play of the day that we ended up having, we ended up cashing a nice plus 150 winner on the over 2.5 sets between Laaksonen and Yemmer, as Yemmer ended up winning in 3 sets there. So a nice plus 150 win to start the day. The French Open draws have officially come out, and I'll probably not be doing a video tomorrow on tennis and a video tonight in terms of the matches tomorrow. However, I will be doing an entire French Open bracket breakdown video, which should come out to be about 40 minutes long or so. I do one every year, and I've done some bracket challenges and stuff in the past with Tourneytopia, which I recommend if you want to try a tennis bracket. Very thorough, it's very solid, and you can do it for free. So it's a lot of entertainment there. But I have to look at the card, see what I find available. I might recommend some plays right now in terms of the video later tonight on the French Open, before line movement might lead to some decreased value there. But in terms of the French Open, I will be making a full French Open bracket breakdown video sometime later. Yeah, Peter, Bolelli I've been a huge fan of. I said that I think he would win a match in the French Open. I'm trying to see who he's currently playing against in the first round, but I definitely like him. I also think Caruso could have some potential value. I've not really familiarized myself with the matchups because of the fact that qualifying ended. You have Bolelli versus Luca Puig there. I actually like the over in that match. Bolelli's interesting piece of trivia, though, is actually 3-1 against Luca Puig head-to-head. So look for a little bit of a sliver on the Bolelli money line there in the first round. But I will go through the first round sometime in the next couple of days. And also, just to keep in mind, one more announcement there with the tennis plays. I know this video is getting long, so I'll try to cut it short. But at the same point, instead of giving one play of the day, since there are so many matches going on in the French Open, I will most likely look at multiple play of the days for the French Open, whether it's set props or just simple game props. I might also look at some futures in the bracket video, so stay tuned for that. But before we conclude today's video, just a quick reminder of our sponsors here at PointsBet, online sportsbook from New Jersey. And they still have a lot of great deals available for all of you. So, specifically, they have some deals with regard to the first 2 bets that you have being risk-free up to $1,000, so you get your money back no matter what. Moving on, you also have the NHL deal where if a team is up 2 goals at any point, you win. And the NBA moneyline deal where if the team you bet on is up after 3 quarters, you win. So, for example, if you had the Bucks yesterday, they were up 3 after the 3rd quarter. Then they proceeded to get outscored in the 4th and they lost. But you would have been able to cash that moneyline ticket on the Bucks for the game itself as the Bucks were up after 3 quarters. But with that being said, I will be back later today for the tennis selections video. Even though I might not have selections, I will look at the entire French Open card and potentially give some selections for the first round that I think you should bet now or sooner rather than later before the line changes. With that being said, that's going to do it for this installment of Select here for Friday, May 24th. And good luck to all of you and your respective bets.